Well, good afternoon, uh, everyone, and welcome for joining our Employee Assistance Program, EAP Orientation. This webinar, in this presentation, you'll learn about how to access the services offered at the WDA State Employee Assistance Program. Carlee Osburn is the EAP Educational and Awareness Specialist for the Washington State Employee Assistance Program. Carlee specializes in promoting and advocating for the safety and mental and physical well-being of EAP customers. Before joining Washington State EAP, Carlee was an adult service librarian for a multi-branch library system in the Pacific Northwest. She has her master's in library and information science and is a certified health, wellness, and life coach. Carlee enjoys annoying her husband in her free time, playing with her 2 Australian Shepherd puppies, and reading. And we want to turn this webinar over and welcome Carlee.
Thank you so much for introducing me. Hi, everyone. I'm Carlee. I'm with the EAP, and in the 30 minutes that we have together today, we will be looking at who the EAP are, showing some of the services that we offer, and just kind of stating a case for why you might consider utilizing our services. If you have any questions, you are always welcome to ask them. If you decide that, maybe you want to ask later when we're not in a public setting, that's perfectly fine. You are welcome to reach out anytime that you would like to. So without further ado, let's talk about the EAP. So some pretty basic information, just kind of introduce you to us in case you're not aware. We have actually been in service in Washington State for over 50 years now. We started as a pretty small program that helped people in the workplace who were struggling with alcohol misuse. It was very successful, and it was a result of that success that we were able to expand our services. And now we work to help support you holistically. So whether it's work or life, whatever it is that you need some support with, we are here for you. In addition to being in service in Washington State for 50 years, we're also a dedicated local team, which can be really important when it comes to reaching out for help, with mental health and wellness and well-being, so that the people that you're talking to and working with, know what it's like to be here in Washington State. And then, as even more amazingness of our program, we're here to also support the adults who are in your household. So it doesn't matter, whether it's someone who's there by shared genetics or through legal things. It doesn't matter if they live in your household, they are able to use these services as well. That's also really great because sometimes you're doing okay, but it's the people in your household that could use support. We are established into law. The law really just, points out the reasons why it's good to have an EAP. And really, what it comes down to is that research has shown that people who have access to an EAP tend to find that they have better work-life balance, that they have higher job satisfaction, and that they just overall feel better about the place where they're working, which ties into Results Washington goal number 5 of efficient, effective, and accountable government. A byproduct of you being happy and healthy in your workplace means that our organizations and agencies grow stronger as well. And now, if you're unfamiliar with us, or maybe you kind of have that question of, well, why would I reach out to an EAP? These are some examples here of why people do reach out to us. But the honest truth is that you can reach out to us for anything. If it is not a service that we provide or it's outside of the scope of our work, we will do our best to work with you to find the appropriate resource. So if it's a question about, hey, how do I find something in my community? You're welcome to reach out. It doesn't matter. If we can't answer the question, again, we'll do our best to find that for you. But typically, people reach out when they're dealing with something and they could use that neutral third-party support to help deal with whatever it is that's causing them concern. So again, we encourage you to reach out anytime that you need to. As far as services we offer, we have some pretty good services that I think do a really great job supporting us no matter what area of support it is that we need. So we start, of course, with our counseling, and I will talk about these in a bit more detail. But just to kind of give that higher overview of the services we offer, we have short-term counseling. We are available 24/7, 365 days a year. There's also the work-life resources, which are really fantastic. We also have our education and awareness programs, so my area, and then of course referrals to additional care when needed. And now, if you've attended into orientation before, you're kind of familiar with us. You're probably looking at the screen there and realizing that our website looks different. I wanted to make sure to include that in this presentation because we did update our website in May to be more user friendly and more intuitive to what it is that people are looking for. So if you go to the website and you're like, oh, it looks different, you're still at the right place. So, as I said, I was going to go into the services we offer with a bit more detail, and I'm going to start with our counseling because, full disclosure, counseling is the backbone of any EAP service. Everything else we offer kind of takes a secondary role because counseling is what EAPs are known for. And so, just to kind of give you an idea of what EAP counseling is, I'd like to start by letting you know that it's different from longer term therapy. It's not meant to be uh, long term supportive care. It is meant to be counseling that helps you with a problem, with a concern, with an issue, however you want to phrase it, that is causing you stress and, interrupting your life right now. So it is designed to be human centered, meaning that we will help support you with up to 3 sessions per concern. And that means that there is no limitation as to how often you can reach out to us. So, what we mean by 3 sessions per concern is that if you were to reach out in, say, March, because you're dealing with some workplace related stress and you could use some support, and you meet with a counselor for 3 sessions regarding that stress issue, great. But maybe in July, you're finding out that there's some pressures at home that you could use some navigating, some support with. You could reach out again and talk to a counselor again about that concern. And so you could kind of see how if you had a different concern every month that you could use some support with, you could conceivably talk to an EAP counselor every single month. So it's really helpful to know that it's the short-term solution-focused, human-centered counseling. With that, it is also 100% free for you to use. EAP services do not have any costs associated with them. And although we are a program that is provided to you through your employment, we are still 100% free or 100% confidential, and we respect your privacy. So your supervisor could never call in and get a list of people who have used the services. If a member of your household uses the services, you can't call in and find out what they spoke to us about. It is confidential and private. We also know that there are barriers in place when it comes to reaching out for mental health support. We do talk about it more in our workplaces, which is fantastic. But we also are aware that for some people, it can still be difficult to reach out for help. So we've done our best to help remove some of the barriers that people typically access. The first is that when you initially start with our services, we're working with you on your schedule. So you'll actually start with the online intake form whenever you are most comfortable. We schedule appointments around your schedule, so whatever is most convenient for you. You are empowered to use EAP services on work time. So, if you have the option to attend an appointment or even a webinar at 11 o'clock on a Thursday, you are allowed to do that. Our counseling network is also one area where we really pride ourselves on meeting the needs of the people who reach out to us for support because we have a very diverse counselor network. Every counselor under EAP umbrella is licensed to practice in Washington State. They are at least master's level clinicians. They're local to you no matter your geographic location because we have counselors throughout the entire state. And they are people who support you and reflect who you are as people. So when you reach out to us, if you're looking for a counselor who has a specific age, gender, shared cultural background, shared spiritual background, shared lived experience, whatever that might be. We do have counselors that can typically meet what it is that you're requesting of us. And so those are some really important things to know about our counseling. It's also really helpful to know in thinking about barrier removal is that it can feel like it takes a lot to actually, reach out to talk to someone, and then it feels like it kind of takes forever to actually get support. With us, we actually have it down to a 5-step process. Steps 1 through 4, which begin with the submitting the intake form and ending with scheduling an appointment, typically happen within 48 business hours, so 2 business days. And that's from the time you hit submit on that intake form until you actually meet with the intake counselor. And then the 5th step, which is when you actually meet with the counselor that you'll work with for up to 3 sessions, the time for how quickly that happens is all dependent on your schedule and what you're looking for. Because again, in thinking of removing barriers and making services more accessible, we want to work with you on your schedule. So now, going a little bit deeper into those steps for what it actually looks like to reach out for service. It does start with that online intake form, which can be accessed at our website, which is eap.wa.gov. And now with the new website, you actually have a couple of different ways of accessing the different forms and areas of the website that are important to you. That was just a quick scroll through to show you what the new homepage looks like. So one of the ways you can access what you need is to click right there on individual counseling. You can also opt to go through the employee and their families option, which is there at the top. Whichever way you choose, though, the online intake form looks the same. Now, going under how EAP can help you, you'll also find that information there. We offer 2 types of counseling for you. The first is individual counseling, which is just single person, so you reaching out for support. We also offer relationship counseling for you and the members of your household, whether it's you and one other person or you and 12 other people. We do offer that relationship counseling, and it is the same 3 sessions per concern model. If you're going for the relationship counseling, everybody will fill out the same online intake form, and then they just get matched up in the system, which is really, really great for everybody. If it is just you as the individual, though, you don't have to worry about relationship counseling. You would just select the individual counseling option, and you would fill out the intake form from there. So, kind of showed you a few different ways we can get to that. Now I'm actually going to show you what the online intake form looks like. Now this form is pretty short. It's very straightforward and it doesn't ask for a lot of detailed information. Now, having said that, there is an optional demographic section on the form, and you only fill out as much information as you want to. So the more you share with us, the better we are at finding a counselor that will, meet your needs. But if you don't want to share, that's okay. This is the form. Like I said, very straightforward, very simple to fill out. There are only a couple of boxes that are 100% required. You'll notice they have the little red asterisk. There's 2 fields on the form that I do highlight, which are the field asking who you are, whether you're the household member or the employee, and who you work for. And I point those out because they are required, and it can kind of give people a little bit of pause when it comes to answering those questions, because why do you need to know this information? And the only reason we ask that information is we just want to know who we're talking to. We want to know if we're talking to the employee or the household member. And we ask for your work, where you're coming to us from, because we understand that everybody's workplace has different stressors, different workplace culture. And so it just helps us to know who you are and where you're coming from so that we can best support you. Like I said, there's the optional demographic information. The more you share, the better we are making that match to a counselor pretty quickly. And then there's the information about the privacy and confidentiality. We don't share your information with anyone for any reason. No one can ever call in and just get information about who has used EAP services. Having said that, there are 2 situations in which we would release information. The first would be initiated by you, and that would be if you want your records released to a new doctor, maybe you want a copy of your records for your own purposes, whatever that might be. You can request those. You fill out a form, has to be notarized, and then once we receive that notarized form, we release the records to the person that you said we could release them to. The other instance is that counselors are mandated reporters. So if they are working with someone and they have belief that there is imminent threat of harm to that person or someone in that person's life, they are required to reach out to appropriate emergency services. As far as I know, and as far as the counselors that I've talked to can remember, we have not ever had to implement that. But those are the only two situations in which we would release information. Your EAP files are exempt from FOIA requests, so rest assured it is all 100% confidential. And once you fill out that form and hit submit, second step happens, another short video for us here. You receive an email back regarding your intake appointment. It has a little bit of a blurb telling you what to expect next. And the most important part of this email is the blue link right there for the appointment booking page. This is the page that you will schedule that very first appointment on. Now, I did record this in January of last year. I recorded it on a Monday, and I could have had an intake appointment on that Wednesday if I wanted to. But if that didn't work for me, I could have picked a different date and a different time. So you select what works best for you, share your contact information, and then you hit book. With this email, we do ask that once you've submitted the online intake form, make sure to check things like junk folders, spam folders in case you don't see this email. If you've checked all of those and you're like, it's been a couple hours now, it's been a full business day since I submitted that intake form and I haven't seen a response, please reach out to us and let us know, because if you don't receive the booking email, we won't know. But once you have and you select the date and time and you hit submit, we're all good there. And what happens is we go on to steps 3 and 4 that happen at the exact same time. So with this is your intake appointment, which is step 3. The intake counselor is not the counselor that you will meet for your 3 sessions. The entire purpose of meeting with the intake counselor is exactly that. It's like if you've ever had to have a surgery, you had to go in for the pre-surgery consult. It's kind of like this. It's a 15 to 30-minute appointment where you will speak with a clinician. They'll go over your intake form. They're going to ask some information. They're going to determine how best to support you. And then they are actually going to be the ones that connect you with that counselor. Because again, we're all about trying to remove or lessen barriers. And there's nothing more overwhelming than finding out you're eligible for a service and then being told you have to find your own counselor. We actually do that for you. So with step 4, it looks like one of 2 ways. If you're going to meet with one of our EAP counselors, they work for us full time. You'll know the date and time of the appointment before you end the call with this intake counselor. If you're meeting with one of our network providers because you live in a rural area and it's really important to you to work with a counselor who knows what it's like to live and work in a small town, we're going to take your information. We're going to go to that provider database. We're going to find the counselor that most closely matches what it is you've requested of us. We contact the counselor. We let them know about you. We give them your contact information. Then the counselor reaches out to you, and together you determine when your appointments will occur. And so from there, we're at step 5, where we meet with that counselor. Now, again, because it is not meant to replace longer-term therapy, this is a very collaborative effort. So you and the counselor will work together to determine how many sessions you want. Some people don't want 3, but you've got access to 3. Why not use them? You'll also work collaboratively to identify and locate resources and supports and ways to help you overcome whatever concern it is that you brought to us. So if it's stress management, that's what we're going to focus on. And then at the end of your sessions with this counselor, we typically see it ending a couple of different ways. For some people, they've gotten the support and the information that they needed. They're like, this is awesome. I'll see you next time I need you. Other people are like, I have a really good handle. This is great. I'd like to continue working at this. Can you recommend some resources? Absolutely. We are happy to do that. And still others decide that they really enjoy having a neutral third-party person to talk to. And so we can work with you to help kind of transfer that care to a longer-term therapist. Our intake counselors know the ins and outs of the insurance companies here in the state. Many of our network providers do also continue seeing EAP clients long after those 3 sessions. So if you determine that, hey, maybe I like light counseling, you want to stick with longer term, and you're ready to transition to, paying a deductible through insurance or paying out of pocket, we can help facilitate that. And before I stop talking about counseling, two other things I wanted to share with you. If you work with one of our counselors and you're like, this was great, and you come back to us in the future for another reason and you want to work with that counselor again, let us know. And if we can make the scheduling happen, we will connect you to that same counselor. And on the flip side, if you just don't have a connection with a counselor, because sometimes that happens, they can be well meaning and great at their jobs, but they're just not the right person for you, you can reach out to us and let us know, and we will find you a new counselor and you'll get your 3 sessions. So, if at the end of session 1, you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work, reach out, let us know. Halfway through session 2, you're like, yeah, I just don't think we're connecting. Reach out, let us know, and let us find you a new counselor so you get those sessions over. There's one other type of counseling that I do have to mention because it is an RCW, and that is formal referral. What this is a formal referral is when a supervisor, manager, HR person notices that there's someone on their work team that's struggling with an issue that's impacting their ability to work. It could be coming in late, leaving early, not getting work done on time. Something is obviously affecting this person, and they could use some work or some support. But that leadership person doesn't know quite how to support them, or maybe they've tried and they felt they didn't do a very good job of it. And in that situation, they can reach out to talk to an EAP counselor about what they've noticed and about what's going on. And that counselor is going to work with that leadership person to try to determine ways that they could be, the supportive person they want to be. And in some cases, the counselor might decide that maybe they'd like to talk to the employee. And if that is the case, the leadership person, so manager, supervisor, HR, whomever, goes back to that person and says, hey, you're struggling with something, or I tried to help, if you could use some support, the EAP is here, and if you want, they can talk to you. If you decide to take that person up on that offer and meet with a counselor, it's still 100% private and confidential, meaning that if your supervisor were to call back and say, hey, I recommended John Smith reach out to you for some counseling, can you tell me what's going on with that? By law, the only thing we will say is whether you made an appointment. So we're not going to discuss what is causing the issue at work. We're not going to discuss any plans you have to overcome it. We will not discuss that. So that is really important to know, that it's still 100% private and confidential, even if it's not a service that you initiated on your own. It is 100% voluntary. So even though someone might, leadership might feel that you could use some additional support, if you don't feel like it and you say, yeah, no, not doing it, perfectly fine. You cannot be forced to use EAP services. And finally, we also don't provide anything for employee files about this. So, if it comes down to the future, there's raises, promotions, transfers, if there's ever disciplinary action, there is nothing provided by the EAP that says, well, they were referred for counseling in 2025 due to a work-related issue. It doesn't exist because our services are not meant to be used in a disciplinary manner. They are meant to be supportive and collaborative to help you address any issues that you might be facing. So formal referral is simply that. Leadership is concerned, they don't know how best to support someone, they can talk to a counselor about whether or not you might be interested in reaching out for EAP counseling. I will share that if we look at counseling cases as a whole percent of 100, we see formal referrals in less than 2% of cases. So it's not a very utilized service. So moving on to the awareness and education, because sometimes you're not looking for a clinician. You don't want to talk to a counselor. You're looking for an article. You're looking to attend a webinar. You're looking to find information about wellness and well-being. That's what our awareness and education is available for. Through this, we have an amazing website that's full of resources regarding mental health and wellness and well-being. So resources on suicide prevention and intervention, grief and loss, racism and mental health resource guides, supervisor tools, employee newsletters, brochures, and flyers. We also have live and on-demand webinars. We post the new ones for the month at the beginning of every month. And anybody is welcome to sign up and join us for one of those. On-demand webinars are available for anybody who wants them. And if I have any leadership here in the session with me today, we also are available to provide presentations for your team for, on work and life topics. We're also available to be present at wellness and benefits fairs. And we are also available to help you deal with critical incidents that may affect your team as well. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you can't wait to talk to someone. As great as it would be to always be able to schedule when it is that you could use some support, sometimes you just need somebody in that moment. And we are there to provide that as well. So, with our in the moment crisis support, I will share that again, if this is a situation where there's imminent threat of harm to yourself or others, please contact the appropriate emergency services first. But for everything else, there's us. You can reach out to us anytime, day or night, simply calling 877-313-4455. If it is during the time when staff are there and answering the phone, all you have to say is, I need to talk to a counselor, I'm having a crisis, whatever it is, we will connect you to a counselor, no questions asked. If you call and staff have stepped away from the phone or it's after hours, you just have to push 2 as soon as the recording starts. You are connected to a counselor. You get to talk to them for about an hour about whatever it is that brought you to them. And then at the end of the call, if you would like, they can take your information, pass it on to our on-call EAP counselor, and they follow up with you the next day just to see how you're doing, see if they can offer more resources. This is a fantastic option for those of you who, again, might be in leadership, or maybe you're that de facto unlicensed, unpaid therapist in the workplace that everybody goes to when they're having problems. Sometimes we can't be the person that other person needs. So it's really great to be able to say to someone, I can see that you're struggling with something. If we got someone on the phone who would be better able to help you with this, would you talk to them? So it's a really great way to make sure that people know that support is available for them, even when you're not the person that is best able to provide that. Like I said, you also have access to work-life resources, which is an additional thing that not everybody has access to. This is the only part of our website that requires an access code. Your code is DVA. And when you enter that code, it gives you access to a website that has practical resources for you. There's provider databases on there, so you can find things like childcare, elder care, pet sitters, home repairs. There's also legal and financial counseling that is available to you. There's also monthly webinars that they have, as well as a savings center. There's also a free online will maker. So this is a wonderful resource on its own that, again, goes beyond those times when you just don't want to talk to a counselor. You're just looking for some information. This service is available for you. Again, the code to access that is DVA. And you can access that anytime that you need to. And so I wanted to, again, thank you for inviting me to be here today to speak with you. We do have about 2 minutes. If there's any questions or comments, I'm always happy to answer those. But again, if it's something that comes to you later, you are always welcome to reach out. Our contact information is there on the screen. And again, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Carlee. Is there any questions? I see Miss Grace has something in the chat. A question. Carlee?
I was just reading it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is definitely a different concern every single time. It's, the circumstances are different, the people involved are different, the reaction to what's happening is different. So absolutely, that would count as a separate time each time.
Well, again, we want to thank you, Carlee, for that more detailed information. I got a lot from this. We go over doing orientation, but thank you for just more insight to the EAP assistance program. So we thank you for that, for all the great information. And anyone, if they have any other questions, there's the link there in the chat to reach out. And also want to again thank everyone for joining this webinar. And like I said, we'd love to hear your feedback. The link is there. And again, we want to thank you, Carlee. We have our next webinar coming up at 2 p.m. It's the economics of eyesight. And I am going to put the link in this time. I am putting that link into the chat. So thank you.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.